Good afternoon, happy June, and welcome to Designing with Trim with Soft Design Labs, Deb Barrett, that's me, and my design partner in crime, Jackie Von Tobel. Hi, Jackie.
Hi, everybody. We're really excited to show you this. It's one of our favorite subjects, as you know.
So let's start talking trim.
You know, these days, trim has been kind of on the back burner for us. Everything's been so simple, and we've done a lot of banding, but trim sort of has lost its way, but it's coming back with a vengeance, right, Deb?
Absolutely. We saw some sneak peeks at High Point. I saw it again at Maison Objet. There's just been a little bit of buzz about it. So we thought it was a perfect time to get you guys on board with starting to use more trimmings in your work and become that sort of trend forward soft design guru for your customers. So first,
And we're all about upselling, right, Deb? And, for years we've told people, trim is a gold mine. I mean, it can really, take one simple pair of panels and not only increase the beauty of it, but increase your bottom line.
yep, absolutely. But before you get started designing with trim, and because most of you maybe haven't been using it a lot lately, we thought one of the do's, if we were talking do's and don'ts, one of the do's is definitely know the language. What's a braid versus a gimp versus a fringe? You know, what kind of fringes are out there? Um, is it a bullion? Is it a chainette? So you can, again, when you're having to work with your clients and you're doing that upsell, and if there is a little bit of sticker shock at the price point of some of these trims by the yard, you can explain to her why, why the price is what it is and what it's going to do for the finished product, right?
Absolutely. And by the way, I have a really good resource for that. My book, The Design Directory of Window Treatments, I actually have a whole glossary of trim terms.
Good for, yep,
So,
forgot about
yeah.
that. Yep, absolutely. So
So,
let's start
go
talking
ahead.
about what's on the horizon, Jackie. What are you seeing?
Well, this particular picture is from the Dubai collection of Chanel. And if that gives you, it was just released, I think it was their resort collection last year. So it's very new. And this should give you an indication of what's going to be happening in fashion. So we're going to sort of take you down the fashion runway and show you how fashion designers are using trim, fringe, tassels at the forefront of their designs. And as we know, what happens in fashion trickles down to us mostly, usually about a year later. And so here you're seeing all kinds of chainette fringe, tassels, really enhancing these things in new and different ways that we haven't necessarily seen before.
Hmm. Crop tops with tassels.
Oh
Woohoo!
yeah, balance. It's a balanced top.
It's a
You know,
balance top with it, exactly.
yeah, I think every one of us now has a kimono with Moroccan fringe on it in our wardrobe. I mean, that was sort of came out last year, but think of translating that now into your home decor. Shoes with
Love,
fringe.
love the shoes.
I'm dying. We went to a With It event in High Point, and Jenna, is it Phipps? It's Phipps,
Yes.
right? Had the most beautiful blue tassel fringe shoes on, and so did Kelly Wursler.
Yes.
They both had blue tassel shoes on, and that's one of those aha moments because they are really super trend setting both in the home decor industry, and you're like, oh, I know what's coming now. They're
But
wearing it on their feet, right?
right, exactly. This boot here on the far left, is certainly going to be an inspiration for me because I love this idea of layering different colors
Mm-hmm.
and then maybe cutting it up or, putzing, kind of
Exactly.
like doing that two different colorway, which gives just a basic bullion or a chainette a really different look. And you could do that
Right.
really well. That could really be fun.
And tassels as well are huge. Here's more of that Chanel collection up on the top. You've got a denim purse, and translating down onto the shoe below. Can't remember who the vendor was that but I've been seeing it in tassel or jewelry a lot as well. And here's some fun Moroccan type tassels on there, but feathers, we'll talk a lot about that, leather tassels, pretty much anything you can think of.
I know exactly. And here's this. Here's the basic. Oh, don't you love it?
And that's the Chanel bag. And I was just in the Chanel boutique in San Francisco, Deb, because I wanted to see that bag in person so bad, and they did not have it. I
I
was
know.
really disappointed.
But
But
so dig out all those little odds and ends pieces that you might have sitting around in different trims and braids and things, and start thinking about how you might be using them for your clients, because it's all about making it fun.
yeah, think out of the box when applying those tassels. Even if you're using inexpensive cotton, tassels or fringe here, I think these are all from Anthropology, and they do such great, or maybe Urban Outfitters, but putting
Mhm.
things in with a sense of humor, I think translates
Absolutely.
well right now to the customer. And
This
wild and woolly, we saw a lot of this in High Point, didn't we, Deb?
Yep, absolutely. It was translated into trims and into furs and into feathers. And then one thing I have to say is if you use pom-pom fringe, you are going to be right on point with trend. We saw more pom-pom fringe
Oh yeah.
coming in. By the way, think also outdoor with umbrellas. Santa Barbara Umbrella does some amazing umbrellas with trims around the edge, and there's no reason you can't buy a less expensive umbrella and customize it for your clients.
Oh, absolutely. And especially now, we're in summer.
Uh-huh.
But the key here is really trying to think out of the box and applying it in a new and different way that makes it unique to you, right?
Right.
This is our friend Deborah Main, who is the Pillow Goddess.
Yes.
And she's been doing a lot with tassels, leather tassels, all kinds of tassels, zippers and things. She's a great one to follow on Facebook if you're looking for pillow inspiration. And she also has a pillow line of ready-made custom one-offs and really beautiful pillows. One of the things, in talking about trim, because we haven't been using it in a long time, and if you're not used to using it, there are some things that you just should do and you shouldn't do. One of the do's here on this Roman shade, or London shade rather, when you're applying trim to the bottom hem of any valance or shade, you really need to be careful and think about how that's going to impact the look of the shade. Is it the right scale? Is it really going to, balance that shade out right? So think about the silhouette. Is it going to blend in? Is that what you need? Or is it something that's really going to pop and add, some really vivid detail to that with the sun going through it? So think
Right.
about that when you're plotting out your treatments.
And it might be something as simple as do I apply the header to the top face of the fabric, or do I
Mhm.
insert the header of the trim into the between the lining and the face?
Right. And a lot of
You
times,
there's no rule.
no, and a lot of times, we forget when we're plotting out, especially window treatments, but also pillows and bedding and everything else, is to, mock this stuff up, hang it up on the wall, see how it hangs. When you're using a tiny little swatch and you're putting it out and all the colors go, well together, that's great. But you forget that it has weight and gravity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Don't fail to plan to hang, your trim selection on, planning out on a complicated treatment. This definitely took a lot of planning. It's gorgeous.
It did, but the thing that I noticed about it is
Uh-huh.
that, that inner, the bottom, I guess, inside liner of that cornice would
Right,
have
this.
been, I think, a little bit more effective if it had followed that trim. And then there's a gap,
Right, right here.
in that area there where the trim curves and then goes into the second curve on the
Right here.
right.
Yeah,
And
it
so I
doesn't
think
curve down as well as what you're right.
exactly. And so I think, this is just a lesson that goes back to
Here's
that
another guy.
point, is to make sure that you're hanging these things out and mocking them out before you're specifying. This follows that curve perfectly.
Uh-huh.
There is no gap. There's nothing that looks out of place, so it does take a lot of planning.
Mm-hmm.
And, the beauty of this treatment, I think, too, is it shows you the two examples of what trim looks like, when it's applied on the face, and then what trim looks like when it's applied free hanging and it's allowed to have the sunlight go through it. It's really a beautiful contrast between those two.
And don't forget, there's no rule that says that you can't mix and match trims with the same
Right.
treatment.
Mm-hmm. This is a trend that we're seeing right hot off the runways from High Point and other shows. Is bullion is coming back in a big, big way. And so people are adding it on with decorative tapes and using it on, this is a very manly chair, sophisticated, but the fringe is almost a neutral trim in both of these cases. This is Windsor Smith, the green chair out of her new collection. And I mean, it sort of harkens back to the man's smoking room, but something about it is just a little more contemporary.
Yep, absolutely. Here it is again. I love bullion fringe.
And this is, about as traditional as you can get. I mean, it's very French, but it's put into a more modern setting, and it becomes very contemporary and added with contrast piping or welting, and then the tape on the seat. I mean, the crazy pillows. It's really awesome, and the tape on the backs.
Right, right, and then fringe, and this was Alexa Hampton, wasn't it, at High Point?
Yes. Uh-huh.
And so here you've got it tasseled with deep skirt fringe. I think this was maybe, what, 12 inches?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, but a gorgeous, but it just kind of goes, it finishes off that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one, I'm in love with this room. I just want to teleport myself there for some reason and lay down there and read a book, because I do so much of that in my spare time. But here again, this is sort of harkening back to the 90s with the big fat, remember those days of the round pillows and the big overstuffed sectionals. But I think, bullion is definitely on the way back.
Yep.
And it, fringe comes in many different forms too, right?
Right. These are just folded over a fabric strips that were. This was on a poof from VH Home.
Yeah.
And then the ombre chainette is exquisite.
Isn't that gorgeous?
Right.
And it looks like they just painted that.
Right.
Exactly. It was probably. And don't forget, when you're looking at this stuff, don't forget your sort of dressmaker sources for these trims. A lot of this stuff isn't readily available through our regular sources, but through fashion sources it is.
Definitely. And another place a secret source is Etsy. You're going to find some amazing trims. I have bought trims for clients on Etsy. Yep. Things that are being hand done that are really beautiful. So as Jackie,
and eBay as well.
Oh, forgot about eBay. Yeah, as Jackie mentioned earlier, it's really about creating some serious texture. It's all about dimension.
Yeah, this chair is like a sheepdog, right? Or what's one of those dogs that has the dreadlocks? I love those things. But, just these little puffs of fur, you can buy that by the yard. You can buy fake fur by the yard and do that.
Leather, very important. Really coming in. Again, it's speaking to that sort of menswear thing that's happening. This is Samuel & Sons ad. Love it. It's wrapped up on, to the handle, and then of course the tassel. It's around the hat. What's interesting is they do this leather with a rivet tape. So there's actually two here. There's a cord and the tape. But what happens is when you start putting it on fabric, like on a leading edge or whatever, this is where you've got to have that conversation with your workroom. How am I applying that? It can't be sewn on. It has to be, dew-fixed or millennial tape or something. So again, keep in mind,
someone was
might
just
love it,
asking
but can you even apply it?
Yeah, someone was just asking that question on Facebook in the Design Dilemmas forum.
More leather, of course, in fringe.
Long fringe. This was the Laura Currar chair that Deb and I fell in love with.
Yes. Oh my God, it was amazing.
Last October market.
Yes. Feathers. Feathers. When we did our trend presentation with Jeannie Chung, one of our design blogger friends, she was forecasting loads of feathers to show up at High Point. And we did start seeing some of them.
we're going to see even more because I've seen a bunch of feather stuff in development
Mm-hmm.
recently. And, just thinking out of the box again, I love this little feather trim on these white drapery panel, the drapery panel.
Uh-huh.
It's just unexpected. It's different. And these feathers, I think, are these Samuels and Sons too, or the feathers, or are they,
I believe they are. Or
okay.
the top one might be Oulay's.
Oulays, okay. But just absolutely beautiful and, a different take on traditional tassels.
Uh-huh. So basically the only place that we're using any kind of trim is down the leading edge of a drapery or on a piece of upholstery, and it's tapes and it's fretwork tapes, and so we're kind of been there, done that.
Yeah, we're asking that question. Are you bored with banding? We're kind of bored with it. We've seen so much of it, and if I see any more Greek key, I'm just going to fall over.
Yeah, I hear you.
We need something new. But are there, some new applications that are great? Well, you've got Mary McDonald who, hit it out of the park with her collection of appliques and tapes. And again, she's got a Greek key and some other things, but they're a little bit different, and the way
Mm-hmm.
that she pairs it with a richer fabric and not just as the only design statement.
Right. I love the fact that she used a toile with a Greek key, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of all about ramping up that design quotient, especially if you are still using banding. Maybe it becomes an embroidered piece, or I love how it's on the drapery and the tie back,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
it's on the wall again.
Yeah, it becomes almost a neutral in that way as it's
Hmm.
going through the, hopefully the whole space like that. And with digital printing now, that's a great way to print your own banding.
Yeah, absolutely. This was at Kips Bay. This was Tilton and Fenwick room, and as you can see, they used one of the trims from, believe this is a Schumacher trim,
Mm-hmm.
out as a chair rail.
Yeah, and that's really very interesting.
Hmm. And you can use ribbons at the top, and ribbons with nail
Mhm.
heads at the top of a ceiling can be interesting. Uh,
Right.
I agree. Don't cut bandings too wide.
No, and because we get stuck on using a particular fabric, but it may not be that effective as banding. And here, the white on the white, it just isn't working. It loses the effectiveness of that
Hmm.
Kelly Wearstler trellis pattern, the imperial trellis or whatever it is. It just doesn't work. So you've got to really be careful with scale. And the other thing with banding too is there's stopping and starting points. There are corners to be taken into account. So you really need to work closely with your workroom to plot that all out and make sure that the fabric that you want to use is appropriate for what you're trying to design.
Hmm.
You
I
know, and
like
then
it.
I love these pillows that you found, Deb.
Right, these are actually from Jean-Paul Gaultier, and it's a striped ribbon, very much like a grosgrain, just a little bit more modern than what we think of as striped grosgrain. And then they folded them, and I love how it didn't come over into the corner of the pillow, but they brought it down and did some sort of, folding origami kind of feel to it. Can really get some great looks with some of the stripes that are out there.
Yeah, there are we do give you some rules, but a lot of times, you can break those rules, right?
Absolutely. Well, you know what Dorothy Draper says, if you know
Yeah,
the rules, you can run a red light.
right. With the predominance of banding and using fabric as trim, I've seen some really sort of good treatments go really bad, and you've got to really be meticulous about how you're plotting things out, what you're going to put with what. Do combine different trims and fabrics if it's going to make a cohesive statement, if it makes sense. So the one that is on the left, everything makes sense here. You've got the darkness that's repeated in the fabric, the bias insert there mimics the design that's in the fabric. I mean, it just works beautifully. But on the dote side, you've got a round trim motif with this open box pleat ruffle that's sort of here nor there and isn't very crisply done, and it really doesn't go together at all. So just be careful what you're mixing. We love mixes, but
Yeah.
again, plotted out well.
And when you, especially, again, back to the scale, don't throw the scale off. And then,
Right.
what's it going to do to the fabric that you're applying to it? They're not as translucent. Are you okay with that? Um, does it change the coloring? So, sometimes just on the edge with the light shining through from the back, it can take on a little bit different color.
Absolutely. And you may need to address that and put a backing on it. Here you've got the sun coming through there, which is already sort of, diffusing. Maybe that should have had an inner lining or,
Hmm.
something to not make that happen. The other thing that I want to emphasize too is make sure you get a crisp edge on there. I prefer to have sort of it as an overlay rather than wrapping around the
Hmm.
edge for a lot of things, because especially if you have a geometric border, it just to me seems a little crisper.
I agree. And applying it securely. I know that a lot of workrooms say, oh, I can do it with Millennium tape, I can do it with
Mhm.
fusibles, but when you're starting to miter corners and you're laying over on top of one another or whatever, I think it's got, in a lot of cases, if you can sew it, it needs to be sewn on.
Yeah, because this is not what you want to have your clients come and bring to your attention a month down the road. Especially, if you're in a climate that's humid or dry like where I live, tape doesn't always hold that well.
Right,
And so you're going to get this gapping and everything else, and yeah. And be sure to plot out your corners really
right.
well.
Look at that. Great corner.
Maybe
Great.
this wasn't the greatest. What I do a lot of times is I will cut a square out and applicate a square in the corner, and do it that way rather than have a mitered corner on something that doesn't work right.
Yeah. This is where you don't start at the top down. You start in the
Hmm.
corner and work up.
Yeah. Hmm.
But again, thinking out of the box, love these center inserts.
Yeah, isn't
Done
that
dining room
pretty?
chairs like this with some pieces that I've bought that I absolutely adore.
Yep. And I love this one with that orange trim,
Hmm.
because it's unexpected. You have a very plain fabric and then a very traditional fabric, and then you have this geometric band running across. I think it's really fun, and gives it more of a modern vibe for your client.
Love it. Yep. And
Do add a space between your tape banding and
yep.
the edge of your treatment. I really prefer this look. I think it makes it stand out, and obviously there are going to be times when you don't want that or that much of it. Move it over the side, but even if you do that and it looks like micro welt, I think it just performs better. It doesn't pucker as much because
Hmm.
it's laying flat and it will hang better.
And also remember, if you're doing a tape that's 2.5, and you want something that's an inch and a half, or you want that white space between the edge and the trim to be about what you're seeing in the picture, then you're also going to have to spec larger overlaps if you're working in
Hmm.
draperies.
Exactly.
And how does that all affect your finish lengths and your
Hmm.
finish widths and all those kinds of things? Oh, this
Right.
is a great picture.
Isn't this fun? This is a little girl's room, and I couldn't fit the whole room on there, but it's just really a fun treatment and an inexpensive way to do some draperies. You see they've got a design dilemma over on the left where they
Hmm.
couldn't bring the panel all the way down. And so then they followed that line all the way across by adding the
Hmm.
rest of the panel in the color of the wall, and then adding that trim both on the wall and on the treatment. And it's just a fun, really well thought out execution to
Yep.
solve a problem that was, obviously
And by the way,
daunting.
you don't even notice that that drapery is short until
You don't.
it's
You don't.
pointed out, which that's the whole point, isn't it?
That's the key, isn't it? That's how
Uh-huh.
that you're winning. And this one, I just say, do mirror banding on both sides just because it's so cool and I love it.
Yeah.
If it's
Well,
not a functional treatment and it's appropriate, I love that look.
absolutely. And even if it's on a return edge, because at least in the Midwest where we have a Georgian floor plan, so you walk into an entryway, you have a
Right.
room to the right, a room to the left. When you walk in that room, the first thing you see is the return of
Hmm.
the drapery because of the
You're right.
window placement in the door. And it's like, okay,
Hmm.
let's bring you in with doing some banding on the return edge. Again,
Yeah, and it's just that finish, thoughtful treatment, thoughtful design.
Look at
I love this picture. I think it's very hard to really do a lot of different multiple banding styles together, but here it's done really effectively. You've got banding on the drapes that matches the banding on the duvet,
uh-huh.
and then you've got the banding on the pillows, and then you've got banding on the pillows in the back. And, you know, could have gone really wrong, but they've thought it out well. Everything has a angular similarity between the tables and, you know, the geometric shape that's on the big trim and then the
Right.
other trim, so it works, you know, but you've got to be careful.
Absolutely. I love, if I liked anything, I love, love, love the corner on the
I love that
flange
too.
of the pillow, right? But
I
again,
think,
back to
yeah,
matching. Don't forget about stacking trims. Sometimes you can
right,
stack trims to hide the fact that you can't get a really good match either.
exactly.
So that's, you know, and plus, by the way, cha-ching, cha-ching, you just sold more fabric.
Yeah, and you know, you can always use banding, a contrasting banding, and put your trim in the center and use a less expensive trim to fit your client's budget,
Hmm.
but still get the same impact,
Yeah.
you
This
know?
the one here on the right was actually the Lake Forest Show House. I think it was
Ah, okay.
Gail, can't think of her name. Anyway,
Yeah,
giving her credit. I love the idea that instead, I mean,
yeah,
typically you'd put it on the overlap, right? She put it
right.
down the pleat space.
And it's beautifully done, but
Hmm.
well thought out, well planned out. So those are things you need to figure out. Is it going to run up, you know, where you want it? Is it going to run into a pleat? What's your heading? Is your heading appropriate for the style that you're trying to achieve?
Hmm.
And work with your workroom on that. You know, and just think out of the box as far as plotting out. If you're going to use simple banding, you know, here's a couple of great examples where very inexpensive grosgrain ribbon, you know, packs a wallop.
Hmm. So appliques definitely coming back. My favorite is the cameo on the back of this
Uh-huh.
dining room chair from Ambella Home. How awesome. Or as a cornice, could you not see this as a shaped cornice? It just would be
Absolutely.
absolutely. So when we're talking appliques, it's, you know, how can you create those interesting,
Right.
unusual ones? Is this,
These were Mary McDonald's
yep, yep again.
and great looks, but they're not always the right size for what you want, right? So
Right.
this, you know, there's no reason you can't create your own or get your workroom to do it.
Hmm.
If you saw our Oksana laser cutting, take
Hmm.
10, you know, you can have any shape you want laser cut. You can do it with Satouche braid. You know, you can have it hand painted on there, whatever.
Hmm.
But make sure the scale is appropriate.
Yeah, and this is also great with little
Mm-hmm.
frogs up here,
Mm-hmm.
banding, but then again, didn't bring it all the way up. It
Yeah,
just
and
leads
that's
your eye
brilliant.
to that frog.
And the frog is the exact right scale for that. You know,
Hmm.
sometimes we want to use a frog, but if you can't find the right one, either make it or choose something else. You know,
Hmm.
don't go too small.
Yeah.
Same thing here. You know, the right size braided little quadrille, or what do you call that, Deb?
Um, the yeah, quadrifoil on
Quadrifoil. You know,
top of the
make sure they're
tassel.
the right size. Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is actually I think this is Oulay's. This is the
Mm-hmm.
coral tie back.
Coral.
But again, if you're doing a beachy theme, you know, put your money into something like this, the type of the drapery
Exactly.
back rather than the fabric.
And this is something you can create on your own with some twigs and a red can of red spray paint
Yep.
and
Yep.
you know, some red cord if you're on a budget.
And if you're were with us in any of our other Take 10s, you know that if you put an antler on it, it's going to sell these days.
Yeah,
So don't overlook how you can take cording and
exactly.
tie a, you know, lash an antler for a tie back, if you will.
Exactly.
Love cord cleats, right? Just what we needed.
Yeah,
Cord
and I
safety.
mean for a beach house, it's great, right? You know,
Absolutely.
the only
Absolutely.
thing missing there is the life preserver, but I love the knotted one as well. So don't overlook the fact that you can make your own. You know, be
Right.
creative. This is Aveen Daly. Deb and I are both fans of her work, but she's coming out with a new trim collection, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It's all braided metal mesh.
Right.
Check out
It's
her website. I'm sure it's pricey, but it's, for a statement piece,
Yep, that's all you need.
pretty amazing.
And one of our faves, Kristen Dorhan, so everywhere you look in furniture these days, you've got some sort of nailhead design happening. And she just took it one step further. And some of you might recognize this chain link. It's actually Lee's Decorative Showcase sells it, and they're individual, and you link them together. And she did this sort of Chanel inspired
Right.
leather quilted ottoman with a chain link. I love it. I want her to do one for me in red.
It's awesome. And she definitely is inspired by fashion. You can see that in all of her work. And she told us she was definitely going for a Chanel look here.
Yeah,
So you can see how that dribbles down. This was just her brand new collection in October.
right. And so these have been around for a while, these chain
Yeah.
links. But again, think of this as a cornice. It's like, wow, that just changes the whole look for the client
Oh,
because
yeah.
chain mail. I'm in love with this tie back on the right.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love chain. I've been a fan of chain for a long time, but I love to see it now sort of coming to the forefront of things.
Hmm.
Samuel and Sons has these great tiebacks.
Right.
I know we show a lot of Samuels and Sons, but that's just because they're awesome.
Right. Well, and
Just
exactly,
to die
they
for.
kind of get it, and there's not that many trim companies again that are out there
Yeah.
these days. So they're definitely the benchmark and the go-to.
Right.
Love this chainette, which is the beaded chain.
Mm-hmm.
Love that
Very,
idea.
yeah, on a pillow or whatever. So, I guess our takeaway from this seminar is, get really creative, think out of the box, pay attention to the details of what trims you're using, and really sort of, ask your vendors, what's coming down? I want to use some trim. What do you have coming up? I think that they need to hear from us as an industry that we want to use trim and get some more innovative things out there rather than the standard issue.
Right. Absolutely. And coming up in our paid webinar series in June, Jackie's doing a Building Profitable Partnerships, and it's actually a series, right, Jackie?
Yeah, we're going to be sending you or providing you with this building profitable partnerships on many different levels. We're all about collaboration, working together, creating teams, and creating support networks. And so the first one is our kickoff is designers and workrooms. For designers, there probably is, it's one of the most important relationships that you can have, and it can make you or break you. So we're
Absolutely.
going to talk about, communication skills. We're going to give you a worksheet system, contracts, sample contracts. We're going to give you checklists and all kinds of hard takeaways from this. But we're also going to talk to you about, how do you form those relationships? Where do you go to find a good workroom? How do you find out if they know what they're doing? So it's an in-depth look into that relationship and how you really can build something that can last for years and be profitable for both workrooms and designers. So it works both ways. If you're a workroom, it'll teach you how to work more effectively with your designers, and if you're a designer, it'll teach you how to work more effectively with your workrooms. It's a win-win for all of us. So hopefully you'll join us on June 17th. I believe it's going to be 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, but we'll send it out an email with the exact time.
It is. And if you want to register, you can visit our website, softdesignlab.com, and it will click on the shop, and it's listed in the shop, and you can register through there. And then last, we had such a successful inaugural High Point tour in April that High Point Market Authority has asked us to do it again. And so we're going to do it even bigger and better this time. This is not just a tour. This is not just any tour. This is not just a red carpet tour. This is going to be a High Point Market experience. We've got great accommodations, and I know some of you out there have heard listening that accommodations aren't always that great at High Point. We think that we've secured a really great location. I know that the evaluations that came back from the inaugural tour of our hotel was fabulous. We've got loads of networking, private showroom tours, meeting up, whether it's planned or not, with design celebs. exclusive events. Some of our seminars and presentations are CEU accredited, so you'll not only can you write this off as a business expense, but you can gain some accredited education. There's a welcome dinner, a farewell dinner. Jackie, what else am I missing?
Oh my gosh, there's just so much to it. We walk you through, with white kid gloves, and we treat you like a celebrity. And it's more than just going to see market. This is the second one that we did one in Vegas as well, and our members are forming really lasting friendships and camaraderie, and they are bolstering each other and helping each other with their businesses, and it's a wonderful experience.
Absolutely.
So I encourage you, if you haven't gone ever to High Point, or if you haven't been in the last 3 years, or if you've gone by yourself before and had a bad experience, you're welcome to sign up for this tour. And we think it's going to fill up pretty quickly because we have 20 really great cheerleaders out there now that took our tour last time that we had a great time with.
Yeah, fabulous. So
we're just thrilled.
registration opens next Wednesday, June 10th. And again, if you visit the website, there'll be more information. And I'm sure through social media and some of our email blasts, you'll be getting more details. But if you're interested, just shoot us an email and we'll make sure that you get on our preview posting for interested qualified buyers.
And
And
I would say too that we only have 20 spots.
yep.
We need to keep this small to really give you the best experience that we can possibly give you and give you one-on-one attention. So if you're interested, sign up quick because those spots are going to fill up quickly.
Yep. And we'd be more than happy if you're really wanting to get the skinny on it. We'll be more than happy to put you in contact with one of the ladies that went with us because it was great. In fact, it's funny. I think for Jackie and I, one of the best things that comes out of this is the lasting relationships and friendships that get built by people that didn't know each other. For example, one gal from Connecticut just posted on Facebook with one gal from New Jersey, and they were meeting in Paris. Neither of them knew they were going to Paris until the tour, and they met up and traveled together. And we've got one gal in California mentoring somebody else in Michigan. So it's really a great way to build lasting relationships with your peers.
Great.
Yep. So thanks so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Next time.
Yeah. Enjoy your summer.